Hello, my name is Jacqueline Pollauf, and today I wanted to share an overview to the harp part from Oratorio de Noël, or Christmas Oratorio, written by Camille Saint-Saëns. And Saint-Saëns wrote this early in his career. He wrote it for chorus, 5 vocal soloists, and then strings, organ, and harp. It's about 35 to 40 minutes long, 10 movements, but the harp only plays in 3 of those 10 movements. So I'm going to talk about each movement in turn, and I'll discuss the harp part a bit, then play a few passages as a demonstration, and then talk about some possible practice approaches. And the complete version of this harp part can be found in my publication, Choral Repertoire, Harp Parts, so I'll share a little bit about that today as well. Movement 5 is the first movement that the harp plays in, and it's pretty straightforward. The harp is just playing a bass line in the left hand and then jumping between 8th note chords in the right hand. And the harp will play a passage, then have a couple bars of rest, then another passage, another couple bars of rest, and so forth. And throughout the movement, the organ is also playing this accompanimental pattern. So since the 2 instruments are doubling, that's pretty smooth sailing for putting it together with the ensemble. I'll go ahead and play a few bars from the beginning as an example. Many of the measures in this movement are quite straightforward, and the right hand is just jumping between triads and inversions. However, in other places, jumping with the chords in the right hand becomes a bit more challenging. There are a few reasons for this. In some places, Saint-Saëns is using unusual chord voicings, so finding those voicings can be a little bit tricky. And in other spots, it's just a pretty big jump from one chord to the next. You have quite a bit of distance to cover. And then in some places, Saint-Saëns is using fairly long passages of chords, so it's a lot of chords to sail through at once. I think in practicing this, of course, starting slowly and learning everything thoroughly that way is a great first step. Then after that, really targeting the trickier passages is an excellent approach. One way that you could do this is to add on the chords slowly. If we take measure 9 for an example, in measure 9, the left hand plays the downbeat and then a few other bass notes, and the right hand has 7 8th note chords in a row, so quite a few. And you could first just play the downbeat plus 2 chords, and then you could play the downbeat plus 3 chords, and then that one there's a pretty big jump up to that 3rd chord, so that might be a little bit trickier, and then adding on a 4th chord, and then a 5th chord, and so forth. And that's really a great approach because then you can isolate each transition and make sure that the hand is moving very smoothly from chord to chord. And after doing this, then I would go ahead and put the tricky passages back in with the rest of the piece and gradually expand the phrases out to their full length. Movement 7 is the most demanding and challenging for the harpist, much more difficult than the other 2 movements of this work. And the movement is not using the entire ensemble, but instead it's just a trio of vocal soloists accompanied by harp and organ. The organ part is a little bit in the background, holding out some longer notes, while the harp has the moving part. And the harp is playing sextuplets almost constantly throughout the movement, and that really provides the drive and the momentum. I'll play a few bars from the beginning where the harp part is fairly standard in terms of the chords that it's using, and then I'll jump to the middle and play a little bit there to show how things kind of evolve and become more complex as the movement goes along. This movement is really challenging since the harp is playing so constantly and also the arpeggios are moving quite quickly for the harpist since they're sextuplets. In practicing, a lot of classic arpeggio techniques are really helpful. Of course, practicing in chords to learn everything is a great first step, and then practicing slowly, and then practicing with altered rhythms to smooth everything out works quite well. I think another thing that's helpful, since this movement is fairly long, is to divide it up into sections and to really work on each section one after another to make everything both smooth and secure within the hands, but to also have a good grasp of where everything is going next, since it's a lot to keep track of intellectually. Another challenge to this movement is accompanying the three vocal soloists. The tenor enters first, followed by the soprano and then the baritone. Throughout the movement, they have many imitative entrances and really overlap and intertwine in some places. So here in my edition of the harp part, you can see that I've added a solo vocal line and that it moves between whichever part is the most prominent, starting with the tenor and then here switching to the soprano line, here to the baritone line, and so forth. Also in my edition here, I've added harp-specific information with a pedal chart at the beginning and then pedal markings throughout, also some suggested fingering in a few places. And my goal with this edition and with the entire book was to make something that was as harp-oriented as possible. So I've tried to notate everything really clearly and also to add information that is helpful to the harpist. In movement 9, the harp part is minimal. The harp just plays a few bars in the movement, and all the harp is doing is playing an E-flat major triad, arpeggiated, moving up and down through inversions. There is nothing particularly challenging about learning or practicing this movement. In putting it together with the ensemble, the harp does rest for the first 70 measures of the movement, quite a while, so I've included several cues in my edition just to make that entrance really secure. And overall, I think this movement is just kind of a relief after movement number 7 that everything is so smooth and straightforward. As always, I hope that this video has been helpful and has given you some ideas for ways to learn, practice, and perform this beautiful piece. If you're interested in my edition of the harp part, it is available as either a hard copy or a PDF in my publication, Choral Repertoire Harp Parts, and I will put some links for that below in the description. Good luck to you with this piece.